What's poppin', guys? It's Padre to go back with another YouTube video. I know I've been inconsistent, I apologize about that. I'm just kind of a busy gamer. But so today, as I said on my TikTok, we are going to be discussing Saitama versus Naruto. Now, before we begin, as you guys know, I've been doing those little requests on my TikTok to get a TikTok video. And so somebody requesting this, but I was already planning on doing a YouTube video. So I figured I would just shout him out. Tegan, thank you so much for requesting the video on TikTok. Hopefully you make your way over here. And if you don't, then I apologize and I will cry. But as you guys know, I've had DC on here a couple of times already. So, I just had to bring him back. DC, see what's popping to the people.
Oh, hello.
All right. So, so basically how we're going to format this is we're going to go AP. We're going to talk about Naruto and Saitama's AP. We're going to talk about a couple of their feats. We're going to talk about where they scale, how they compare to each other. And then we're going to talk about the hacks of the characters. And finally, we're going to go to speed, because speed is going to be the most fun thing. I've been making some of you guys mad lately. So,
it's gonna get even worse.
So hopefully, you guys stick around and you understand the explanation, or you at least hear me out. All right, I'm not asking for you guys to believe us. I'm just asking for you guys to lend an ear. All right, but yeah. So let's go into AP.
All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to incrementally give you feats that would kind of be similar to each other. They would be like equals. They could be viewed as the equivalents of each other in the verses. The first thing that we're going to do is start off with Naruto, and we're going to take it back to the war arc. This is just a very casual feat, actually, considering the person that was doing it, this was Madara that was doing it. He just basically makes a bunch of Chibaku Tenseis, and they were resting at around the height of the god tree that it was before. You just saw him taking up all these meteors, and you just see them crashing down to the ground. And that feat has 3 different time frames that I used for it. One of 10 seconds, one of 5 seconds, and one of 2 seconds. The very lowest that you're going to get that feat at the very, very low end is Continental, assuming that happens in 10 seconds, which I think is kind of low. We saw them just looking at him, and then they were just boom, they were right on the ground. So I think that the mid ball or the high ball would probably be better of 5 seconds and 2 seconds, which you could get up to multi-continental for that. Now, these meteors, granted, this could have been a way higher speed. This could have been way better if they were higher up in the atmosphere or something like that, but Madara took chunks out of the earth and then drop them down. This wasn't like his Tenkai Shinsei, which he pulls out of the atmosphere, and they the meters were blading or whatever. But no, these were traveling a little bit slower, but they were still very quick, and they still release a lot of energy.
Yeah, and when I think it comes to the justification of using the mid ball and the high ball time frame, I just think that it's genuinely consistent based off of what Madara is trying to do. Madara is trying to do this very quick distract them so I can actually activate what I've been trying to this entire time. So I think using the high ball time frame is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that feat is delicious. That feat is awesome. It serves as a pretty good low ball for Naruto. I don't think you're gonna get him much lower than that.
Yeah, no, you're not. Not
yeah.
lying.
Yeah. So So as DC said, we're just gonna talk about these feats incrementally throughout the series. They're gonna slowly creep up, obviously. So I wanted to bring in the Saitama Boros feat. So this is when Saitama counteracts Boros attacks, which is the Roaring Star Cannon, I believe it's called. And then Saitama just makes this he just displaces all these super dense clouds, and it goes over something 4,000 kilometers, right?
Yeah. It's
he just he just does that, and it's his quote serious punch, but it's obviously not the most power that we've seen from him. And then he just kind of does this, and then Boros is kind of not alive after it. This using the low ball, it still gets us to multi-continental. If you take the high ball, you could potentially get it to moon. But I think the low and mid ball is pretty good. So this would place Saitama at multi-continental, just like Naruto.
Now we move on to our next increment. This is where the numbers get pretty good. We love these numbers up in this range.
Delicious numbers.
So this feat definitely would be more casual for them now, but this was very impressive at the time. This is their 6th pass Chibaku Tensei, in which they sealed Kaguya with. Now we get this awesome panel of seeing it, Naruto on the top, just kind of looking up at it, and then we just see this massive ball in the sky, and it's just huge. It's the moon, and we could do multiple ways of doing this. We could use the actual moon size, but I actually just took the size of it and I found out how big and how dense it would be myself based off the curvature of the Earth. Those are really fun to do. If we have the curvature of the Earth, we can just set anything equal to the curvature of the Earth off of like a picture of like a circle or an ellipsoid, whatever you want to use, as long as it's within like the shape realm of it. I found out pretty much like how big it was, and then I figured out how dense it would be based off the fact that it was rock that was taken from the Earth. So it wasn't like anything specific, like a celestial body formed by itself in space. The moon is just like formed off of the Earth's mass. So it was pretty easy to find out everything. And we get out from a time frame of around 60 seconds. We don't want to get anything over light speed in terms of kinetic energy, because that would just make it inconsistent. We get a very nice small planetary number. Now, this stays consistent with a few other calcs I've seen from a few other people. So I think that this is a super nice range to put them in at this time. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah, also something that I want to add into, partially the reason why we're adding in these little like feats, like, you know, we're going from like multi-continental Naruto and multi-continental Saitama to small planetary Naruto, is one, just to like show you guys the abundance of really cool feats within the series, but also just to build like a level of consistency, because like a lot of people will like be like, oh, like Naruto, you know, is country level now, that's on this planet. No, so like, you know, going from like multi-continental, getting like a, you know, like a super massive and they like are shown to grow as they fight, getting this like small planetary feat, you know, we're just like kind of giving consistencies to these, because we don't really want to, you know, just like drop a calc on you and be like, okay, Naruto is this, here you go, there's absolutely zero context. No, so we're just like doing this like slow, you know what I'm saying, build up. And now that we're doing the slow build up, I actually want to talk about the Tatsumaki and Saiko's feat. So this was like, I don't know, around like chapter like 130, so it's like pretty recent within like the manga, but you know, it like definitely came out like a long time ago. So basically what ends up happening is that Saikos and Tatsumaki are fighting, and Saikos does this like big attack that like brings up like a really large portion of like water and like other debris and like clouds, and kind of what DC was like talking about earlier, the shot that they give us is really nice because you can just like legitimately see the curvature of the like Earth. So you just like, you know, actually set that, and then you could, you know, calculate how powerful it is. So the thing about this is that like the really, really low ball would actually be multi-continental. The mid ball, which I think is more realistic, would be moon level, and you can get a high ball of small planetary. Now, I would honestly go with moon because I just like think it's like the time frame is like a little bit more consistent. Obviously, you know, you can like argue for like small planetary, but I think that moon is a pretty good spot. Now, as for how Saitama would scale to this, for one, we just blatantly see within like the One Punch Man manga, like Saitama scales past everybody within like a pretty wide margin. He has defeated like the most powerful foes time and time again, and on top of that, he's like defeated somebody who has a better feat than this. So Saitama would just logically scale to this. So this is like a pretty easy way to get Saitama to moon level. And honestly, like Naruto has the edge on this feat. I ain't gonna lie.
I was just about to say.
First one was pretty even. You know, like we have multi-continental. This one we have small planetary Naruto, and we have Moon Saitama. So
yeah, and even if you take the high end for that feat, its energy release is still lower than the 6 Pass Chibaku Tensei.
Yeah. So this is just like kind of like a Naruto GG easy right here.
Yeah.
But so now we're going to talk about the third one, which, all right.
All right, now we move into the big boys. You get into the top quantifiable feats of the verses. We got to talk about this. So it's kind of sad to say, but the best feat that we could go back to is in the last movie for Naruto. Now, this feat is very beautiful. We get Tonari moving the moon for an elapsed period of time. We see him moving it. He continuously moves it. He halts it. He moves it around. He does all this stuff with it. And we get out to a planetary number, an actual planetary number, not small planetary. We're getting up into the actual planetary ranges. Now, we do this by the same thing as before. We can see how much it moved after we set it equal to that shape that I make pretty much every time it comes down to the curvature of the Earth. We see that, we set that equal, we get the numbers that it actually moved, and we get the planetary number. But people are very confused on the fact of how a planetary number could come out of the moon. There is natural parameters that are set within the universe. Things that are in their place want to stay in their place. Everything pulls towards its center. We actually have no idea why gravity works the way it does. No idea. Not just me. Scientists as a whole have no idea why gravity works the way it does. But it does work that way. It pulls towards its center. It stays itself together, keeps itself together. Things don't want to move. So there's natural parameters that are set to keep things in their place. There's Roche limits, Roche radius as a whole. that keeps the moon within a certain margin of the Earth so that it's not getting pulled away, but its gravity is still counteracting it. That's why we have things like tidal forces. So the moon wants to stay where it is. So when Tonori's moving it, he is moving a lot of weight. He's not only moving the weight of the moon, and that moon, like, people like to argue that it's hollow, but the reason why that wouldn't matter is because it's still keeping its celestial limit between the two bodies. Mm-hmm. It would even if it's like a lot less like hollow or a lot more hollow, it doesn't matter because it's still within that radius of like mass that it has to keep itself there. So it does not matter that it's hollow. That feat is very, very impressive regardless.
Yeah, like that feat in general, like I don't think you guys really understand. This guy's literally moving the moon. Like this is ridiculous. Also, something that like really gives credence to this too is that throughout the Tonori movie or throughout Naruto, the last movie, there's just like numerous statements of like Tonori being like, yeah, I'm like gonna destroy the Earth. So it's like it seems like pretty like consistent with him saying that, and then he just has like a pretty casual planetary feat. Naruto would obviously scale to that, as you guys all know. He like punches Tonori in the face. So now I'm sure that there are a couple of you guys typing really, really loudly. Well, actually, Naruto's galaxy, actually, Naruto's solar system. So me and DC are actually going to go through a couple of those things. I kind of wanted to start off by talking about the Kaguya stuff, because a lot of people will be like, well, Kaguya is creating these dimensions. These dimensions, have like a bunch of celestial objects, have a bunch of stars, da-da-da-da. The thing with that is that when you actually take like the raw kanji, which I'm like kind of gonna want DC to like go over that, because like this guy knows his stuff when it comes to that. I just know how to read the fucking like what he translates, So people would like usually refer to the data book scan where it goes like something along the lines of Kaguya, creating dimensions as she pleases, and they're like, well, she would scale to this via creation. Now the problem that I have with that is that, well, when you actually translate it, and when you actually have like native Japanese like speakers translate it, it doesn't actually come out to creation. Creation is not really like a great translation. It's more closely in relation to an assembly and a weaving of space. So like the example that like I like to use is that if like I build a house from like a ground up, if I'm like assembling this like house, I don't fucking scale to it. Like this house would slam me. So like the fact that she was threatening to, destroy her, like, planetary size dimensions, the fact that she scales above Naruto and Sasuke, I think, like, small planetary and, like, maybe, like, the low end of planetary ranges is a pretty good place to, like, scale her.
There's a bunch of stuff that, like, just, like, plays into that. Like, we see, like, Otsutsuki's just, like, kind of pillaging, like, planets. We see Otsutsuki's going to different places, and we see Otsutsuki's going and taking over these planets, and taking over the dimensions. Like Kaguya makes the mention of it, that this is now her dimension. Like she's taking it over. She didn't create it. She was taking over Earth's dimension. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just plays into the fact that she's probably not making these dimensions. She's probably just getting them and like taking them as her own, and kind of like putting like a marker down, like a stake on the moon. Like, this is mine. I own this. Like, cause she's definitely the most powerful in all of them. Like they're gods, but at the end of the day, she probably didn't create them with her own ability. It was more of like a gatherance and a semblance, like he said. It was like kind of like, you found it, it's now mine. Finders keepers type stuff.
Yeah, and this is like pretty consistent when you take into characters like Momoshiki, who's just able to freely travel through Kaguya's dimensions. The fact that he's able to do that just like kind of gives credence that like they might just be literally stealing these things from other people. like they're just like be like, all right, my planet now. You know. So and speaking of Momoshiki, there's actually something that we're gonna need to talk about as well. There's like stuff in the novels where it's like, oh, Momoshiki created a supernova. If you get like supernovas can destroy a solar system, or they can destroy multiple solar systems. The issue with that is that you would actually have to get that from the novel. Not that I necessarily have a problem with getting feats from the novels, but with this one in particular, it's kind of weird. The reason why I say this is because it kind of contradicts. So it's a bit of like a retell, or I don't know if it was the original one or not. I forgot. Of like basically like what the movie did and what the anime did and what the manga did. The thing that's weird about it though is that it kind of just like blatantly gets events wrong, and it contradicts not only the manga, but it contradicts the anime. It contradicts the actually it doesn't contradict the movie. It contradicts the anime and it contradicts the manga, which those are much more closely to the source material, because obviously Kishimoto is going to be working much more with those than he is with like movies and with like novels. When it comes to novels in general, those are like written by like other people. Just like it just gets Kishimoto's name like stamped on it because it's the original work by Kishimoto. That's what their novels are based off of. So obviously Kishimoto gets like credit for it. And like, yeah, so like back what I was talking about, there's just contradictions such as like Boruto not getting karma. That's just like, that's a major factor. Like that's actually the current driving force in the story right now. And like Boruto's been going on for like 5 years. So that's just like a major thing that like the novels just didn't do. So, you know, like I just like don't think that like the novels would just be like a great place to get some good scaling from, considering that it's just blatantly shown to be contradictory.
Yeah, I wanted to add something onto that actually. So when it comes down to like canon material, we're not saying that this was never canon. But what happens is when an author's making something, he makes something canon. When an author makes something else, he makes it canon. Whatever comes next that is considered canon is the new canon. If it's if something else that's previous to this is contradicted, the new one is canon. Like he's made an entire series based off the fact that Boruto gets his karma. Obviously, that's going to be the canon, and this Boruto novel is not going to be the canon.
Yeah.
So everything that's been released so far is not filler. That is just a non-canon material. It might have been canon at one point. It might have been something that you could use at one point, but it's not something that you can use now. The events have been contradicted by further released canon material. What is released newer is what is canon, and what is older and that is contradicted, it gets thrown away, basically.
Yeah, that's like a very important thing to say too. Because I'm sure what people would like rush to do now is try to prove Kishimoto's involvement within that specific novel. But like DC just said, that doesn't really prove anything because a new canon has been set into place and it replaces the old one.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, there's actually also one more thing that we need to talk about, and it's the Momoshiki Galaxy stuff.
Oh, on the anime,
like,
yeah.
The Redshift Nebula, and you know, obviously Redshift implies expansion because that's how like the actual universe works. Redshifts means that it's expanding. The thing with that is that the manga's source material.
Yeah.
That is not shown to be the case in the novel. It's not shown to exist in the novel. Also, just because Momoshiki calls it his dimension does not mean that he created it. I don't know if there are like any like other implications that like he did create it. I'm sure there are, but it just like actually just does not matter. Kishimoto's involvement, like Kishimoto's involvement with like the manga is just blatantly shown to be more. So whatever Kishimoto is working the most close with is going to like supersede anything else because as we know, like it's literally his series. So speaking of planetary, did somebody say planetary? I heard somebody say planetary. So everybody knows the Monster King Orochi. He's the most handsome man in the entire verse. He has like tentacles coming out of his eyes. So Monster King Orochi actually, he like kind of rematches Saitama, and he does this like really cool attack where he pulls magma from the center and the core of the earth. He brings it all the way up, and then he attacks Saitama with it. So now, people would be looking at this and be like, that isn't that impressive. Do you guys know how dense magma is?
Magma's dense, man.
The fact that he was transporting that through the entire earth. And then he just brought it up and he attacked with it. Like, it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely cracked. If you, like, you know, obviously you would, like, have to measure how big the thing is that he's, like, pulling up. You would have to measure how much distance it's crossing. When you do all that fun stuff, you get planetary. So, now this is where the thing comes in. Right? People are like, oh, well, he also said Naruto was planetary. Actually, I didn't. DZ said that, but I'm going to pretend like I did. You kind of get a higher number here. And this, and this is the best quantifiable thing that I think we have in terms of One Punch Man. It's pitted up against the best quantifiable feat that you can have in Naruto. And even though they're both planetary, Orochi is further into planetary. And Saitama, which is obviously scale unquantifiably above this, because he obviously just like slams Orochi on his head. So yeah, this is like, this is some pretty impressive stuff. In terms of overall AP, in terms of, like, the things you can actually quantify, Saitama does have the edge. And, yeah, unfortunately, he loses out to this one, but maybe Naruto can win in some other categories. So, AP is going to go to the One Punch Man, the bald cape, Saitama.
All right, just a quick little side note for you guys on that last one, because I know that some people are going to be mad. we very much are aware of the fact that Naruto scales so much above Tonari that it's not even funny in Baryon mode. We're 100% aware of that. We know that for a fact. The problem is we don't have any quantifiable amps that happen after this. We don't know anything that happens quantifiably after this. We can't just headcanon speculate everything. We know that Naruto eclipses Tonari by a lot, and we know that Orochi gets eclipsed by Saitama by a lot. But we can't really put any quantifiables on this. So yes, we know that Saitama is a lot stronger than this number that we got for it. We know that he's a lot stronger than it. But the thing that we cannot do is we cannot like put a number on it because we don't know. We can't headcanon it. So yes, just don't get mad at us for that. We know that he's a lot stronger. We just can't really do much about it.
Yep. So now we're on to character hacks. Now, traditionally people would do this at the end, but I don't care. Me and DC scale high. So the thing about hacks is, and when we're talking about Saitama, he has a lot of great hacks. Mm-hmm. The great hacks he has is that he's a bald guy and he punches people really hard. And on top of that, I don't know, like I guess he broke his limiter. Is that even a hack? I don't know. Saitama just blatantly does not have any hacks that I'm aware of. I've like reread the series like 3 times. Could not really find like an actual hack that's like on the so yeah. Hacks for Saitama? None. He punches people. DC, what do you got for Naruto?
Naruto actually has like quite a few hacks. So the thing is, like, both of these series have like supernatural things in them, but like Saitama is supernatural in the sense that he like hits things. Naruto is supernatural in the sense that he has like a demon fox inside of him. Mm-hmm. So like Naruto has access to a lot of chakra. He has access to a lot of jutsus. He has things like 6-path sage mode. He can literally fly. Like he can fly. He has those true seeking balls in 6-path sage mode. He has frog strike from sage mode. Like that's like a viable term of Duraneg. Rasen Shuriken. He has all these jutsus. He can do all of these jutsus. We even saw him do like Earth style like multiple times, like once in Boruto and once in I think he did it in Shippuden. But yeah, like we see him do like these jutsus. He has hacks. He has like a very limited number of hacks, but he has hacks. He doesn't have anything crazy. He doesn't have like space time manip to like an extreme extent. He doesn't have like conceptual manip. Like he doesn't have any of those type of things. Yeah. But he does have hacks. He can do jutsus. He can do things. He can manipulate the elements. As well as he has like things like yin release, yang release. He has like life manipulation off of that. He can resist soul manipulation. So he has some of those things that come with like the supernatural verses. Yeah. Whereas Saitama just hasn't really had any of that yet. He kind of just stands there and doesn't take damage.
Yeah. Also something that I want to add for Naruto too, because people would probably kill me and DC if we ended it there. Naruto's regenerative abilities is actually like really good.
Oh yes.
Like we see like probably like one of the weaker versions of like Naruto just like regenerate a lung, because like Sasuke punctures his like I believe it's his left side or his right side. I don't really care. Doesn't actually matter. Excuse me. And then like Sasuke implies that like, you know, Naruto's like either gonna have a hard problem breathing now or he's like not gonna be able to breathe now. So like we know that the lung is like located over there. Sasuke implies that like, you know, like this is gonna hurt your breathing. So like Sasuke just kind of punctured his lung and then like Naruto just kind of like regrows it. So like Naruto's regen to a certain extent, you know, can like allow him to regenerate like internal organs. You know, we like can't say for sure if like he could do it to like the major ones like the brain or the heart or anything like that, but
he can't do it with his arm. You know that.
Oh yeah, true. But yeah, so like Naruto's regen in general is just like pretty like cracked. And yeah, that's like a very important hack. So
alrighty, now we are on to the fun part, the fun part that is going to get us screamed at violently. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is Light Fang, because like that's just like kind of like what everybody wants to talk about, everyone wants to hear, everyone knows that it's like one of the best speed feats quantifiably. So we'll talk about the anime version and we'll talk about the manga version. First, we'll start off with the manga. The manga's is less impressive. So we see that Naruto actually just moved his head like a lesser amount than he did in the anime. Like we saw the two like forms like 180 degrees behind Naruto, and it just wasn't. He didn't move his head by that much. We saw the distance that they were away from each other. We see everything like that. We see the line in which Madara cut. We could set a line equal to that and then draw a line up from Naruto's head straight to the line, which would be around where it was before. And we can get out to at a high ball of around 39% the speed of light. That is in the manga. Now we've seen ones that are around like 10%. So I would say anywhere from like 10 to 30% or 10 to like 40% actually is like fine. The 10% one just does a little bit different things than I do. I don't necessarily 100% agree with it, but I think that's all right. Either way, you're not getting FTL off of this, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to spoil for the anime one. You're not getting FTL either. The anime one, he moves his head a lot more. I think the distance between them is also like a little bit more. He ends up moving. What the total distance that he ended up moving was around like 70 centimeters. Compared to like the manga, which he ended up moving like I believe it was like 37 centimeters. So he moved like quite a bit distance more. But still not enough to push you in the FTL range. You get at around 73% the speed of light. So you get Rel Plus, which is like better than like 40%, but it still doesn't get you into the FTL range.
Right.
I should probably talk about the versus wiki battle one, because like that one is just like kind of big.
Yeah, actually, please do that one because
so
everybody uses it and it's kind of stinky.
Yeah, so we have the versus wiki battle one, which is like it's not good. It's not good. I don't know if that was like his first like calc or whatever, but I'm sorry, it's not good. So in the versus wiki battle one, that gets him like 2.11 C, I believe it is, something like that. He uses Pythagoras theorem. Now Pythagoras theorem is used to find the area of triangles in geometry. So why did he do that? No clue. But let's break down why he shouldn't have done it. So off of my calc of the anime, you saw there was around 70%. So the reason that I believe he did this is because he didn't want to get the distance between the two of them, or he didn't know you could get the distance between the two of them off of a previous panel. So he set a triangle equal to what the distance between that Naruto's head moved to Madara, which is just wrong. Because first of all, you can't set a triangle to that because of the distance that it is away from the panel, as well as the fact that it's 180 degrees behind him. We also don't need any sort of information based off of a triangular area. We don't need the angle of a hypotenuse. We don't need anything like that. This like representation right here that I like drew out pretty much in like paint, I believe, is pretty much the path that Naruto took. The path that he ended up drawing was another line up from point C to point A. He did not need to do that. We have that distance. We have the distance that Naruto's head traveled. We don't need anything else. We don't need like that extra number. So he just got like an extra number that wasn't actually the distance that his head traveled based off of like a geometrical formula that would just ended up being wrong. So that's not good. Don't use that calc. The calcs that are like in the rel ranges are a lot better for it.
Yeah, sorry, but basically, like I'm gonna keep using that calc because it gets Naruto faster, and I'm biased.
Yeah,
so, yeah, so I'm actually do that. Okay, so there's actually a little bit of something that I like wanted to like add to, because like obviously like as you guys know, when it like comes to calcs and when it comes to math, DC just like on a completely different level than I am. But like I kind of feel like I can serve as like the pretty good middle ground to make it a little bit easier to consume, because I obviously we know like DC just spitting his like math mumbo. I'm just joking, but. So when it comes to this, and there's like a pretty common misconception of like how the speed equation actually like works, because like when I made a video on this, and when I said that I believe Light Fang is around 40% the speed of light based off of this, a lot of people were like under the impression that this was how it worked. Okay, so now let's say that I am standing 10 yards away from Tom Brady, and Tom Brady throws a football, right? And it goes 10 yards per second. Since I'm within that range, I have to move at the exact same speed in order to dodge that football. The reason why that doesn't work is because, and the reason why that wouldn't make me faster than that football is because the distance that the football is traveling is much greater than the distance I would have to go in order to just quite simply sidestep it, right? So like people think that because you dodge it, you scale to it. That's not really the way it works. That's why like a lot of like One Piece fans get like a little bit confused too, because they're like, well, like Luffy dodged light. Yeah, but if you take away the great distance, then it's not an actual light speed feat. It's not an actual faster than light feat. Distance is extremely important. I can dodge a train going like 150,000 miles per hour if I'm like 3 like parsecs away. I don't know why I did parsecs, but like I can dodge something that is a lot faster than me if I'm a sufficient distance away from it. And that's kind of what it comes down to with like here. Naruto was a pretty decent distance away from it. And like that's why Naruto would not really be faster than light off of it. That's why, using like Pythagoras, whatever, that's just like I don't know why people used it. Apparently, they just really enjoy triangles. Your average triangle enjoyer.
Average triangle enjoyer.
Yeah, average triangle enjoyer. But yeah, so you do not get faster than light off of that feat. It is relativistic. If you want to say relativistic plus, that's fine. I really do not give a fuck. But if you say it's faster than but if you say it's faster than light, that is where I have problems. Now that we have done this, a lot of people will be angrily typing and be mauling, being like, "Well, There's a bunch of
You
light
know
speed
that.
statements. There's a bunch of light speed statements. Have you ever read the data book, Pacino? Have you ever read the data book, DC? Because Haku was called light speed. Sasuke's Kirin was saying to him at light speed. What's actually really funny about the Sasuke statement is that Zetsu gives us the time frame, and it's just like not light speed, but it's like called light speed.
It's like
So
Mach 100 or something.
yeah, so like you guys will like notice, like I'm gonna point out some of these like contradictions. The data books are just like proven to be inconsistent. So one of my favorite things to do is I like to talk about Madara, and I like to talk about Madara's Light Fang. Now, this is an endgame villain using an endgame jutsu, and this jutsu is stated to bisect things at light speed. So this is a light speed attack. Okay? Now, what a lot of people don't like that I say, but what I actually like hold firm to, is that Madara does not scale to this. Now, the reason why it's a bit of a problem, and the reason why I say this is because, one, we have like a little bit of a history of jutsus enhancing your like physical self. Chakra as a whole enhances you, but when it comes to actual jutsus, using specific jutsus, it is not unusual for these things to enhance your qualities. So, for example, you can think of like Choji's partial expansion jutsu. He is able to output more energy because of chakra. He is able to do that. Choji doesn't normally scale to this through the jutsu. He would scale higher. Another example is something like Chidori or something like Raikiri. Chidori allows you to move at greater speeds than what you're normally capable of. So something like Light Fang doing this is not only not unusual, but the best speed feed from Madara besides this also backs this up too. So if you guys remember, we were talking about the Chibaku Tenseis when Madara brings up like a ton of them and then he just drops them on you. You can actually, based off the time frame of that, you could also get the time frame in which Madara travels from the ground all the way up to the sky. Now that is like a sub-relativistic feat. So that is the best quantifiable speed feat that we can get for Madara, and then he also whips out a light speed attack. It's pretty safe to say that he probably does not scale to this, especially because Madara is literally in a hurry. Madara is like trying to activate a jutsu that he's been planning to activate for pretty much, I don't know, like 100 plus years. So I don't like see any logical reason why Madara would just take his time and slowly creep. No. So that is a sub-relativistic feat. Madara is then using a light speed feat, and also might I add too, like the sub-relativistic feat was done by a more powerful Madara. So it's just like, we're also being like a little bit nice here, but yeah, so Madara does not scale to this. The reason why this is a problem is because we have a light speed feat in Naruto coming from an end game villain that doesn't even scale. He does not scale to it. So how are people like the Raikage scaling to this? How are people like Haku scaling to this? How are people like how is Kirin scaling to this? It just logically makes zero sense. Also, when it comes to the Raikage too, you guys need to stop using that. You guys really do need to stop using that. That has been translated by like people like DC, which I'm gonna have them explain in a bit. Like the more intricate when it comes down to the actual language, because I obviously do not understand that. But it is very clearly portraying it as a simile. Obviously fast like light is different than fast as light. If like people are fighting like cats and dogs, that like doesn't mean that like they're actually like a feline and they're fighting like how a cat does. If someone's as brave as like a lion, they don't like actually like they're not the king of the jungle. They're not being that like brave. No. So and like I said, I kind of want to have DC talk about like the intricacies of that, because he could obviously explain that better than I can.
Yeah, so when we come down to like the kanji, we get things like Hikari no Gotoki. So what this would mean, so we have light like. So Goto is the premise of that. That's what it's talking about. So it would be moving like light speed. It would be a comparison. It's comparing someone to the speed of light. As in the sense of like they're moving so fast that I can't even like imagine it. This is like unimaginable speeds. So like in real life, we're saying like, oh, he's as fast as light. Oh, that's like lightning speed. Like he's moving as fast as lightning. He's not actually doing that. It's just very fast. We're giving a comparison to the fastest conceivable thing that we know. Light in the universe is the fastest thing that we know. Right. So logically, when we're talking about the usage of like figurative language in terms of like a manga or anything at all, Kishimoto doesn't know anything faster than light, because there is nothing faster than light in real life. So he just gives it this. Right, he gives it this like kind of like illusionary thing. He's like this isn't a box. This is what it is. This is as fast as that it can be, and he's just giving this as an example. He's not talking about the Raikage actually moving at the speed of light. He's moving at light-like speeds, or moving at a speed like light. he's just fast. He's very fast. It's a clear. If it was like, if it was something more like definite, like he's moving at light speed, not speeds like light.
Yeah.
There's a very, very big difference here when we're talking about the conjugation of words. So yeah, this just isn't like, this isn't correct. It's not correct. And I've broken this down so many times. Talked to my friends about it who don't even watch Naruto, by the way. I just literally gave them the kanji, and they did it. I did it. Like, this made me like question my own ability to speak the language. I'm just gonna tell you that.
Yeah. So, and the reason why this, like, excuse me, the reason why this is extremely important is because we do, as you guys know, get a lot of light references within Naruto. Like as a series, we just get a bunch of them. We get, you know, obviously Kirin stated to be like light speed. We get like the Haku, and Haku can teleport between his mirrors at light speed. Again, like these, like kind of like what DC was saying, light is the fastest known thing. So obviously when you're comparing something really, really fast, light is like just one of those things that you just kind of stick to. But the thing is, and with the thing that people don't understand is that if it's shown to be inconsistent, we cannot just take these statements at face value. Like I saw like a scale earlier today, which was like horrendous. Like it was so bad that it actually offended me. That like Naruto intercepted Haku traveling between light. Haku got intercepted by Naruto traveling between his mirrors, meaning that Naruto is faster than light. The thing is that like we actually have quantifiable feats later on in the series where you have people like Sage Mode Naruto scaling to Pain, and Pain's highest like speed feat, like high hypersonic plus. Now, I don't think I really need to explain to you guys how Sage Mode Naruto, which is objectively scale higher than child Naruto. Now, if you would actually like disagree with that, then you would go down that rabbit hole, or if you're just trying to rat, whatever. But consistency is really key when it comes to scaling these characters. And when it comes to Naruto characters, the consistency just is not there until we get to Madara. That is when the actual consistent feats happen. That's when we get sub-relativistic feats. That's when we get relativistic feats. That's when we actually, okay, so these characters appear to be around here. The quantifications that we're able to put on it are scaling these characters around here. So it's not like out of the ordinary for one of those to whip out a light speed attack. So yeah, it just seems very consistent. This is one of the things that actually become consistent. So Naruto is going to be relativistic to relativistic plus, and he would be unquantifiably more powerful than Baryon mode. Now, what I would appreciate is if Kishimoto did this, but he didn't. I don't know why. Just like literally make a data book, dude, and just say, yo,
Yeah.
Baryon mode is a fucking 10 times multiple. Please, Kishimoto, please. And please, like, reference it in speed, please, because but until he
still happen.
But until he does that, we just do not have a quantification. We don't have a quantifiable number to add to this result, and that is where the problem comes in. So Baryon mode Naruto would just be unquantifiably fast on that. It's unfortunate. I know. I also cry myself to sleep about it, just like you guys are gonna cry on your keyboards as you're typing to me that I'm an idiot. I cry about it too. Okay, but Naruto is just going to stay here. And we're going to talk about Saitama next. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the bald cape, Saitama. Where does he scale in terms of speed? So now there were other like light speed feats, and there were other like light speed references. They were a little bit iffy. Obviously people used to lie about like the flashy flash stuff. But yeah, so where Saitama's scaling, or where One Punch Man scaling in general got a really massive bump, is in the more recent chapters. And this is where Monster Garo is fighting Flashy Flash, and he's fighting Platinum. Do like we have to bleep that out, or am I like allowed to say it? That is a literal character's name. So if anybody from YouTube has a fucking problem with that, take it up with one. Okay, so Monster Garo is fighting Platinum, and he's fighting Flashy Flash. Now, Flashy Flash doesn't really scale to this because Flashy Flash kind of gets like knocked out of the fight, and Platinum Sperm and Monster Garo just like literally create like a light show. They travel so much distance, and what's really, really nice is that they give us a time frame for it. Oh, it was so beautiful. The distance that they covered, you could actually like measure it out. Now, people like DC, James Daly, and Manifested Favor have gone through the rigorous measuring of all those lines. There's like literally so many of them, but people have, you know, like those three geniuses have gone and they've measured it, and you know, they give us the time frame, and then we actually get anywhere from FTL plus at like a pretty low ball. FTL plus is a low ball and massively faster than light depending on the calc. And no, that's just like such a delicious number. It's just, oh, I love it. And when it like actually comes to the calc, I want to have DC talk about it a little bit, because I obviously cannot explain the calc because I didn't do it, and because I'm also kind of a dummy. DC, you want to take it away?
I got you. So the first thing that we see is we actually do see the curvature of the planet, and like that's perfect. That's perfect for us. Literally perfect for us, because that is what I used, and that is how I got my number. We see like that. We see that slight curve in the background, and I was able to use that. So considering the fact that I was able to use that, that's how I got my number for the absolute height that it goes to. But when it comes down to like the differences between these calcs, is the fact that it's how many lines you trace through. Now, Manifested Favor did like pretty much every possible line that you could and got into 200 range for faster than light. So he's getting up into the MFTL ranges like that. He got up there. I did not get up there. I got into 96 times faster than light for the entire thing. Divide that by 2, 48 times faster than light for both of them. James Daly got something a little bit higher. I think he got like 55. So he did more lines than I did. I was lazy, I guess you could say. This angle is a little bit off. I saw a VSBW calc that I'm going to talk about real quick. Basically, what they did is they used the distance between the two craters, and then they ended up getting like 4 times faster than light. Why this is wrong is because we're looking at an angle that is so abstract. We're looking at an angle, we're kind of like looking diagonally down on it. We're not looking at a straight shot. Yeah. So the distance between craters, if you say we're looking diagonally, right? And then we were to give just a straight horizontal angle, the line that you drew wouldn't actually reach where it drew when you're looking diagonally. So that means for a fact that it's shorter, or sometimes it could even be longer depending on the angle that you switch it. So the distance between craters is not a good thing. You want to take the thing that a constant would be the curvature of the Earth. That has a constant in terms of it. So we could use that, which is a lot better. Now, people like to use the time frame 0.00000013. Why this is wrong is because the time frame that's presented to us is there's a bunch of zeros, right? That's what people think. You could see the little dots, the lines that are in between it. That's how many zeros there are. There's a total of 3 zeros. There is a total of 3 zeros that we're going to be using. It is 0.0013. That is the total number of zeros that we're using. So the time frame is not like 2, 4, 6, 8 zeros. It's not 8 zeros. If people did that and they got like hundreds of thousand times faster than light, it is not 8 zeros. It is a total of 3 zeros, 0.0013, and you get out to be whatever that number it is, anywhere from like 48 times faster than light to like 200 plus times faster than light, which is what Favor got. So yeah.
I don't know, guys. Seems like DC might have a slight problem with VSBW calcs. Hey, listen. I don't know. Yeah, but so when it comes to Saitama, he would just be comfortably at a low ball, faster than light plus. I don't know why I said faster than light plus. FTL plus, and then he would also at like a mid ball, or like, I don't know, I guess you call it high ball, massively faster than light, which is just objectively faster than Naruto. Now, DC, I wanted to talk about something a little bit extra. We're gonna like give him like some dessert, a little bit of a snack. We're gonna talk about Sage Mode multipliers. Now, I have been very adamantly against and for Sage Mode multipliers. I kind of flip-flop. Well, I kind of flip-flopped, but I stand pretty firm on where I am now. I do not believe that Sage Mode is a linear increase. Now, what do I mean by that? So let's just take something like Dragon Ball, which even Dragon Ball is like something that like you really struggle with too. The thing about like power levels in Dragon Ball is that, you know, when it like goes up, your other stats go up. Now, how do we know that, DC? Well, because Vegeta tells us. Vegeta goes, when he's fighting, I forgot the guy's name. It's not a Pule, but I'm just gonna say it's him. And he's like very, very shocked. He's like, whoa, like how did like Vegeta get so much faster? And then Vegeta's like, hey, moron, like my power level increased. Obviously, my speed would go up too. So he's like kind of implying that like as your power goes up 1, your speed also goes up 1. Now that's obviously contentious too, but that's just like the most notable one that I could possibly think of. So now when it comes to Naruto, Naruto has the Sage Mode amp. The amp we actually get from like the curse mark, where like I forgot the guy's name. He's like, oh, like I become 10 times stronger. Da da da. whatever. Now, the reason why that causes a little bit of problems is because, well, actually not like problems. The reason why that's good for like Sage Mode and the reason why you can apply to Sage Mode is because Curse Mark is basically Sage Mode, just bad, right? So logically, that amp would logically apply to Sage Mode as well. Now, where the problem comes in is that Naruto is just not shown to get 10 times faster. I have like, you know, like I have the example of when Naruto is swapping hands with like Pain in his base form, and then he re-enters Sage Mode, and then like they're still like relative. So like he goes from like relative to just faster, but like they're still relative. Now people, you know, might have problems with that, fine, but there's no other scenario where you can showcase Naruto is getting a ridiculous amp in terms of speed. Now, what a lot of people would say to this is, well, what about the third Raikage? Naruto blatantly says, oh, with the yada 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 and the like speed increase. No, okay, so in context, the reason why Naruto uses Sage Mode, the reason why he opts to use Sage Mode is because he verbatim says Sage Mode has a wider danger sensing range and it's faster. Now, faster in context would be it's faster the way I'm able to react to things due to this increased danger sense. I can sense danger on a farther scope. I can react to it faster because of that. Not that I'm actually getting so much faster. No. So that is where like that like really comes in. I don't think that you can prove that like Sage Mode is a linear increase to your speed. People obviously have like contentions with that. It is what it is. I do not really care. So yeah, Naruto is just gonna like stay there, unfortunately. So that is all we got for you today, lads, gamers, and gamettes. That is all we have for you today. So that's Saitama versus Naruto. My conclusion is that I think Saitama is going to win. I don't think it'll be difficult. I don't think that DC has a different conclusion.
Naruto sweeps, but he's weaker.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, so Saitama is going to win this one. It's going to be pretty handedly as well. Unfortunately for Naruto, we just like need better quantifiable feats. I know that no matter how well we explain it, we could like write a dissertation and people would still slander us. So yeah, there's just like no action.
There's no winning.
Yeah, but yeah, so we hold the opinion that Naruto is going to win this one. DC, thank you so much for joining me, King.
Thank you for having me.
Hope that you have a great day. Oh, also make sure to follow him. This like guy has a TikTok. This guy has like a YouTube. Like hopefully it'll be on the screen. If it's not, I'm gonna yell at him. Yeah, so make sure to follow him and all that good stuff. If you don't follow me on TikTok, I don't know why you wouldn't. Odds are you're from TikTok. Yeah, everybody, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for listening.